Michael Segal is an attorney with an MBA who helps companies work through complex and changing business environments. A former USAF F 15 fighter pilot, he brings the skills he developed in high intensity, fast moving situations to the legal profession and business world. His military experience includes leading airmen in both combat and peacetime operations, as well as managing billions of dollars in Department of Defense resources over a 22-year Air Force career. His legal practice at Eagle Law Group focuses on complex commercial litigation and transactional work for companies and government entities, covering business litigation, securities law, private equity, venture capital, and real estate.
Welcome to the MILCOM Founders Podcast, where we champion and celebrate military community business founders. In each episode, we will talk with a MILCOM business founder to learn how they work through various obstacles and opportunities in business and in life. I'm your host, Loeb Loeb. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome, everyone. Today on the MILCOM Founders Podcast, we get to champion and celebrate Michael Segal while hopefully educating and inspiring other military community founders. Michael, welcome to the show. Who is Michael Segal?
First off, Rod, thank you so much for having me. Greatly appreciate it. Background on me, born and raised in Los Angeles, California at the age of 18. Went to a small, little-known university called the United States Air Force Academy and did my time there. From there, went to pilot training through F-15Cs and then Es on active duty. Got my MBA in the interim. Decided, like most fighter pilots, to go to law school after that. So did that here back in LA at UCLA. From there, went to a large law firm called Loeb Loeb. Started off in litigation. Knew that I always kind of wanted to have my own firm. So went to a couple smaller firms to learn the business of law, and then started Eagle Law Group in November of 2023. And here we are.
Fantastic. So I just got to ask, what's your ideal morning look like? If you're not rushing out the door, what's that morning look like?
Does that include work or a
No, before work.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you most recently, I pretty much live my ideal morning. I don't know if you've ever been to Camp Pendleton, but they have these beach bungalows out there that are right on the water. As a retiree, you can rent them. And you wake up, you walk outside your bungalow, and you're immediately on the ocean. I had my wife and my son there, and it was just a beautiful California day. Spent some time outside, let the sand go between your toes and get in the water a little bit. And in my mind, it doesn't get much better than that until the legal calls start, at which point
I bet
you no longer feel like you're on vacation.
That's right. Did you stay there for a week or what?
Yeah, we were there for about 4 days. Took my son to Legoland for the first time, which I know your listeners are very keen on hearing all about. So that'll be most of what I talk about today.
Absolutely. Legos are important, man, especially when you step on them. Was it your kids are little and they run around and step on those things?
Yeah.
I can still feel the pain, right? So what are some things that are important to you? Obviously your son, your wife, but what's important to you in life?
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up pretty nicely. Family is very important to me. Security, as we well understand, is immensely important to me. Feeling safe where I live, feeling safe locally, nationally, from a multitude of different issues. That's important to me. A sense of community is important to me. Obviously, I'm somewhat involved in the veteran community, Los Angeles, and to some extent nationally as well. So I find that community to be fulfilling. I like the people in it, and it helps me get out of bed in the morning knowing that I'm going to be interacting with people like you on a regular basis.
God bless you, man. So I like that, security and community. Absolutely. So Michael, that little school you joined when you're 18, how old were you when you thought, I'm going to join the military?
When did Top Gun come out?
Wasn't that Navy?
It was. It was. I'm not gonna tell you this like incredibly romantic story. I watched Top Gun and I was like, I want to do that. What's the best way to become a fighter pilot? What's the highest probability of success? Did my homework. Turns out it wasn't going to the Navy necessarily. It was going to the Air Force. They just have more fighter jets. Uh,
Yep.
so that was the point that I decided that looked like the coolest job in the world, and that's what I wanted to do. And then, design my entire life around that.
That's pretty cool. I think it's so neat when someone knows what they want to do when they grow up, and my buddy wanted to be a dentist. He's a dentist. Another one wanted to be a doctor. My brother wanted to be a doctor. My daughter gets ready to graduate and become a doctor of veterinary medicine in about a month. And she's known that since she was 3 years old. She used to walk around the house, go, I want to be a doggy doctor. And now, 25 years later, she's going to be a doggy doctor. So I think it's a gift when you know that, Michael. That's pretty cool.
It's all about execution.
All about execution and focus. 100, and she's very focused, just like you are. That's for sure. So you join the military. You go to the Air Force Academy. So what are some of the key takeaways you had from that what I imagine was an amazing experience? Some key things around leadership, community, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, amazing is one way of describing it. It's I'll be straight with you. As anyone who's been in the military knows, it's hard. I think the amazing part about it is one, the access to information that you have. I mean, there are a lot of highly intelligent people there, and they pull information from some really interesting sources. So you get to kind of see how the government enterprise is built out at a very early age. And, you certainly get the chance to lead fairly early on in life. As a 20 something year old, you're already in charge of other cadets. So that opportunity doesn't typically present itself in the commercial sector. But most importantly, I mean, it's, as anyone will tell you, it's the relationships that you make while there. I mean, everyone's got the quote unquote shared trauma of going through, that military institution. And so, when people go through difficult things together, they obviously bond. And those bonds last a lifetime. I mean, some of my classmates from the academy are now my clients for the law firm.
That's right. That's right. And what are some of those things you learned there that you've used in business and law in your professional life? It's got to be. I think I know one of them already.
Well, I was a legal studies major at the academy. So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
it's direct correlation. But yeah, still, I mean, leadership, managing people, right? I mean, starting a law firm, not every attorney does that unless they feel comfortable about being in the position of leading people and growing an enterprise. I think also rigorous analytical thinking. I'm not going to sit here and claim to you that I was the best student at the Air Force Academy. I wanting to get grades that were good enough to be a fighter pilot, and that was the goal. Um, but they certainly, you are forced to think analytically in order to graduate the academy.
Yeah.
You have to break problems down at a very base level in order to be able to, just understand holistically what you're trying to solve. There's also resolve, right? I mean, anyone's going to tell you that's been through the military that I'm not going to say giving up is not an option, because as attorneys, sometimes we do recommend settling a lawsuit. However, having the resilience to face tough times, I think, is the key lesson.
Yep. Making hard decisions. Yeah. Absolutely. So now, are you still in the reserves today?
I retired from the reserves as of August of 2024.
Okay. Okay. And you achieved the rank of lieutenant colonel, or
I was a major. So I kind of
major?
gave up
Okay.
on the promotion track once I went to law school and decided that I was going to focus on that and not really delve too deep into the reserves.
Hey, the Air Force has got the hardest promotion cycle in the forces, so I definitely understand that. That's for sure. And in the military, what's a good example of leadership that someone set for you that you're like, this person did this or they treated me this way? What are some of those examples that you remember forever?
The commander of my first fighter squadron, Chase Boutwell, who I still talk to from time to time, when I was at the 44th Fighter Squadron at Kadena over in Okinawa. I mean, he was just such a great example, always cool and collected. You could tell he had thought about things ahead of time so that when he was put into difficult moments, uh, he already had enough of a mental infrastructure in place that he could respond in a way that wasn't overly emotional and that was, sophisticated. I mean, he made general, so clearly he knew what he was doing. But long story short, uh, he was generally kind, but could be stern when the situation called for it. And that was a
Mhm.
skill set that I tried to emulate during my career. And even as the commander of a fighter squadron who was dealing with a million different personnel issues with, hoarders and logistics, he was still highly competent in airplanes. So like the fact that he could just be good at everything, like how do you do that? And I did
Uh-huh.
my best to try and learn from what he did and emulate his actions.
Yep. Absolutely. Very cool. So Eagle Law Group, um, why did you decide to start this business with this specific practice in mind? Specialization.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was working at Loeb Loeb and Big Law, I noticed that there were problems that came across our desks that were related to aerospace and defense. I also noticed that Southern California and Los Angeles, more specifically,
Yep.
had a burgeoning aerospace and defense sector. And I thought using my background, I would have a good skill set in order to acquire some of that business and, quite frankly, be of use to a lot of these companies that are trying to break into defense and aerospace. A lot of our clients don't just use my legal services. They ask for advice technically, like, hey, I'm building this. How do you think that will factor in
Hmm.
with the rest of the force? Well, I mean, this isn't legal advice, but here are my thoughts on the capabilities. So uh, that I think has been something that most attorneys don't necessarily offer in their suite of legal services.
Well, how could they? How many of them were fighter pilots? And then, you got the geography lined up, you've got the background lined up, and you've got the professional skills backed up. I mean, look at that shock group. It's pretty tight then, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to blow up your head too much,
please
but
do.
it's
Go
a
on.
pretty tight shock.
I came on the show for a reason. So,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm like everybody else. I am now a civilian. I have to put food on the table. So, where can I add most value and maximize the use of my skill set? And I think, being the guy who's always reading contracts or always deep in the courtroom, that's probably not the best use of my skill set, but managing the people who can do that specific to this industry. And, to be fair, we do have a lot of clients who are not aerospace and defense. We have like a, fertility clinic. We've got, litigation finance. It's all over the map as far as our client set. But the preponderance of the clients that we work with are in that sector.
Yep. And you're relatively early in starting your practice, and you just hired, like you mentioned. Is that your first hire or your second
This will be our first
Eagle
full-time
hire?
employee hire. Hopefully, she's supposed to start on April 29th, and fingers crossed that that happens. And I can, again, free up some of my time to think more strategically versus doing the actual contract reviews, Series A's, all the stuff that
Yep.
an attorney does.
So when you're working with these, I imagine a lot of them are veterans that you work with,
It's true.
just by the nature of your business. What do you see that makes for successful business owners? What qualities, what traits, what have you noticed a pattern of what makes them more likely to be successful?
I have. One is understanding who they're going to sell their product to in a very high level of detail.
Yeah.
Meaning, I know a guy or girl, he or she needs this. I am going to make this, and then I will be able to sell it to them once I am done.
Uh-huh.
Staying organized is something that I've found effectuates success because as you scale, problems can get much bigger if they're left to fester. And with disorganization, I've seen that kind of fall apart. Uh, as an initial startup founder, I've kind of talked about knowing who your customer is, but being able to sell the organization, sell the vision, sell everything that you're doing so that people want to dedicate their time and resources into your endeavor. And that's, you have to be able to articulate that. You have to be able to interact with other human beings well, or it's a much more difficult path.
What about coachability? Do you think that's a big one, or what have you experienced with that?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I've met hard-headed founders who are not super coachable, but they're good enough on raw charisma that sometimes they can survive, and technical confidence that they can survive on that alone. I will say coachability helps. Uh, Certainly, you have a team of advisors. Hopefully, they're giving you good advice. If you're consistently blowing them off, maybe not the best strategy. Um, but I have seen startup founders who are just bullheaded. This is going to work. Got it. That's the risk. I'm pressing forward. So, yes, that is important to an extent. But I think we've all heard of the intense founder who's just going to make this work one way or another.
That's true. That's very true. So this whole advent of AI, this thing that's going to come down the road in another week or two, right? How's that impacting your business already today?
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I assume you use AI quite a bit. So do I.
Yep.
I use it for research all the time. It's quite frankly, now the hard part is figuring out which AI to use. Like there's Claude, ChatGPT, CoCounsel for Westlaw. There's Clio Work. Like, it is
Yep.
overwhelming the amount of AI that's out there, and trying to find one ring to rule them all has been it's the biggest problem. But yeah, I mean, certainly I'll have AI draft things for me. You have to read it. Lots of attorneys have gotten in trouble for putting documents in front of a court, and then AI hallucinates like a case that it cites to, and turns out judges don't really love that.
I bet.
Yeah, it doesn't make them happy. So you still have to have a human to kind of guide the AI, but it's certainly one, we can do things faster, has been my observation from drafting to reviewing for errors. And then two, you get I think generally a better product because you have a quick review process for a lot of the documentation that you generate. There's some management things that I haven't really delved deep into. I actually have a meeting tomorrow with an AI expert that I'm going to tell him to, tell me what Claude can do for my law firm and walk me through it. I want to see how this works. And so I'll be exploring a little bit deeper. But look, I mean, I think at this point, if you're an attorney and you're not using AI, you're going to get left behind. The people that are using it are going to be able to outmaneuver you, right? The OODA loop that everybody learns about from Reigns. You're just going to be able to go through that OODA loop faster because you can draft faster, you can review documents faster, you can organize discovery faster. There's just so many things that it can do. So, like any other enterprise, I think there will be a spot for humans to manage the AI, but if you're not using it, you're going to get left behind.
That's right. What we see is that leadership,
relationships and trust are becoming more valuable than ever, because the model that we're operating off is you got to have the competency, you got to have all those things, you got to have that foundational stuff, but then you've got to be able to teach, coach, collaborate, and challenge your client. Because if we can't challenge our client based on trust, a foundation of trust and competency, it doesn't matter how good of an attorney you are or a financial person. It's just all right, whatever. Um, because too often, we'll tell a client, "Hey, here's X, Y, Z. Here's something you may want to consider." Yeah, yeah, okay, great. No, no, no. You really need to consider this because your burn rate is X. You only got Y time left, and being able to have that confidence and comfort to challenge them, I think, is more important than ever. Um, that's my insights, is what we're finding is, uh, uh, being able to figure that out quickly.
Yeah, I would agree. Interpersonal skills will become immensely more important because the AI is going to be able to do a lot of the low level tasks that used to be done by people. So if I don't need somebody grinding away for 12 hours behind a laptop, uh, what am I going to use that for?
But how's it going to change our business models is the question, right? Um, have we figured that out yet?
Billable hour. I'm not going to say it's gone the way of the dodo quite yet.
Uh-huh.
But there are certainly people who think that it will make the billable hour less palatable. It's tough because I do still spend time doing things. It's just with AI, I can do them faster, which allows me to do more things, which can also be challenging because then you have to switch your brain from task to task. But I think the billable hour will stay for a while until the AI becomes just so good that it just makes sense to maybe pay like a monthly bill or something, a flat rate,
Yeah.
because AI can handle so much. It'll be a while, I think, before it goes that way. And I know some firms, they already have a flat rate for like general counsel type work. So I'm not going to say that's a function of AI. That might just be their model. But I could see a world in which the AI got so good that the billable hour was no longer a useful way for attorneys to measure their financial benefit.
Yep. Yep. It is interesting times. I think it was PwC that just came out a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, no more billable hours. We're only going to bill on outcomes, experience, and something else." And it's like, good for you. And I believe that's the way we got to go. But for a major corporation to say this is what we're doing, I think that takes leadership. It takes a little courage to say, if we're going to rewrite the books now, and how we're going to do this and engage our client and our team members. How are they going to get paid? And total rewrite. So I think it's a pretty brave thing on that CEO's part.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly signals the market too, right? Like, well, if PwC is doing it, then
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael, it's all rainbows and sunshine being your own practice owner, right? It's all simple, easy,
so good,
right?
so good.
Uh
Yeah. So you remember that little vacation we were talking about?
huh.
Settled a $4 million lawsuit during that vacation. I worked through purchase of a security interest. So vacations are a bit of a misnomer at this point in time. It's
Uh-huh.
obviously there are a lot of challenges. There are sleepless nights. Will this even work? Right? Will I even be able to make a business out of this? What am I doing? This is crazy. I think everyone who starts a business has that initially, unless you've done it like multiple times, and it's not a problem. But certainly when you're starting out, it's hard. You have to figure out like who your trusted vendors, suppliers are, who your trusted partners, who your trusted referrals are. Developing that network takes time. Rod seems to want to chime in on that particular point. So
Just another question.
yeah, that brings up another thought. So yeah, it's not. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of hard work. My family's out of town this week, and as I mentioned, I love my family dearly, but like when they're gone, that means I can actually get all this stuff in my inbox somewhat done. Uh,
Uh-huh.
that I couldn't normally because I want to be home for dinner. I want to be there putting my 4-year-old to sleep at night. And then I want to be able to spend time with my wife after that. So, certainly managing it with family is not the easiest. Probably easier to start a startup if you're single, but I'm not saying you can't do it when you're married. Have a family too.
Yeah, absolutely. So networks, they're kind of important, right?
They are. I'm glad you asked.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yes.
So tell me about your networking that you do to build your practice
Yeah.
and give back and give back as equally as much as what you do through your outreach. How important has that been to building your business? And
Yeah.
what are you doing?
I mean, that's the only reason I have clients, right? Is because I go to events, I meet people like you, we talk, we learn about each other. That initial spark turns into a relationship over time, somebody that you learn to trust over time and to do business with them, and so on and so forth. A lot of my network is just generated through going and meeting people in person and just learning about them. I find that to be the most effective way to build a network is go somewhere. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. It really is. You just show up and you just start talking to people. But I found that if people find that you're genuinely interested in what they're doing, they'll open up to you a bit, and that's just step one. And just rinse and repeat over and over. At some point, people start introducing you to other people, and that kind of has a snowball effect, which I'm sure that you've seen. And then I'm sure you want me to talk about BizVets LA. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Okay.
What's it called again?
All right. So I started a nonprofit in Los Angeles called BizVets LA for veterans here in Los Angeles. There's over 200,000 veterans in Los Angeles, over 8,000 veteran owned businesses here. While I was going through law school at UCLA, I was looking around and I was thinking to myself, where are all the veterans who want to live in LA in an economically viable way? Because as we all know, LA is ridiculously expensive. So unless you have a good amount of money, you're not getting a house with a lawn to raise your kids and have a family in. So after a few years in the commercial sector, there was no organization that I found for veterans who had gone into private equity or attorneys or investment banking, venture capital, all the kind of or financial services, all the kind of things that allow you to generate the type of income or acquire the kind of assets that are required to feasibly live in Los Angeles. So got a few of my LA veteran friends together that I had met from just going to events, and we started BizVets LA. It's a nonprofit corporation, 501c3 registered. We started in 2024 with 0 members. We started accepting members in October of 2024, and we're up to, last I checked, 92 members. It's a paid membership just to make sure that people are serious about being there. And we meet
That's great.
once a month just to do business academics, to network, and generally just to hang out with other veterans in the city who are trying to do big things.
So almost 100 members in a year and a half, less than a year and a half, already a year and a half.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And it's what, $750 per member per year? Something like
It's
that.
$550 per year or $55 per month.
Got it. Fantastic. And I just think it's so cool that you've built that. I'm always asking you about it. Sorry about that. I think it's just fantastic. So back to business. You help a lot of people secure their assets, protect their future, and all the rest. But for veteran business founders, what are 3 things that you think are important for them from a legal aspect and there's so many, right? What are 3 things that you think they should do to be legally ready to run their business, build their business, grow their business?
The biggest issues I've seen for veterans who are starting companies is kind of cowboying it up with the documents like contracts. Yeah, this is generally good enough. Just say something about this in here. This language in this contract is a result of like hundreds of years of people looking at contracts, and it's worded this way for a reason. This is the language we should be using.
Guilty.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Uh-huh.
It works until it doesn't.
Yep.
When things go south, it's problematic. So I would say there are reasons why attorneys want to look at documents. You can take the risk. Look, I mean, I tell clients all the time, hey, you can do it without me looking at it. There will be risk. And if you're willing to accept that risk, go forth and conquer. Because I have templates that, again, have been looked at by judges, have been, worked on for 50 years. These templates, I know exactly how they're going to play out in court because there's 100 cases on this language. So with that in mind, I would say, tread carefully on agreements. I have seen it where things go wrong and the agreement that you thought was tight really comes back to bite you. All right. With that, if you are starting a company, figure out how it's going to work from the get-go. That's not something you want to be figuring out after you've already started the company. Who's going to get the equity? Who's going to get the most equity? Who's going to be CEO? Who's going to be in charge? Is it going to be a 50-50? Okay, well, if you're going to do 50-50, how's the tiebreaker going to look? Because that could get very messy if you guys ever have a dispute. So figure out the structure of the organization to the maximum extent possible in the earliest possible stages before you go to your attorney, because otherwise your attorney is just going to be asking you, okay, how are we going to split this equity? Well, I don't know. We need to have a conversation about that. We haven't really thought about it. Well, okay, when I issue shares, I need to issue a specific amount of shares. I can't just, let's think about it kind of thing on the documents that I filed in Delaware. So just kind of having thought through some of that. And there are standard templates for a lot of this stuff, but that I think is a good thing for startup founders. And then understand that litigation is very expensive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In many ways, emotionally, financially, every way. Organizationally, your whole business, when you see somebody going through that, everything slows down. I mean, it just because X percentage of your brain cycles and emotional cycles are now detoured over. So 100%.
So if you're going to get involved in litigation, don't expect like it to be cheap. Don't ask your attorney to be cheap about it, because you can do that, but you'll get a bad result most likely. And just be prepared for a very long process. There won't always be updates because the courts are not always fast. So things can take a very long time. And to the extent possible, just get information to your attorney when he or she requests it as fast as possible so that you can meet court-appointed, court-mandated deadlines.
Yep. Have you ever seen a deal fall apart? Like somebody's going to go sell their business and they got a great offer on the table and the deal dies because of things the founders didn't take care of early on,
Oh yeah.
This should be a softball for you, I imagine.
Well, the crazy thing about my practice is I do corporate law, I do government contracting, and I litigate, which is not necessarily a great life decision, but it pays the bills for now. At some point, I'll probably narrow it down a little bit as I hire employees. and do kind of run best at. But that means I get to do some M&A work, and that means I get to do due diligence. And yes, I have diligence
Yeah,
companies where I was like, "Oof, dude, I don't know this organization, these corporate documents are very messy. Unless you want to spend a bunch of money to clean them up on the sell side, you're kind of buying a can of worms with a lot of liability. Uh, I don't want to go into too many specifics, obviously, because of privilege and confidentiality, but certainly not keeping your documents organizationally clean uh, can have long-term implications. What I tell clients is pay now or pay a lot more later. So
that's right.
you can either do
Yeah, we call it. We're
go ahead.
sorry, good.
Yeah, you
We're writing a book right now. In fact, it's right here, and we've got it. It's called the Ready Founder.
cool.
And so we've been writing this thing, and I got to keep editing because I got to meet with somebody tomorrow, Natalie, on this. And but it's all about that. It's about being ready, because if we can get the founders to be ready before they need it, it's things go faster, better, more profitably. XYZ. Do you have your ready room built out, or as you guys call it, the data room? Are you X? Do you have XYZ done because the deal can get done faster, usually at a higher valuation, and all that. If you're truly ready, talking about an M&A, or hey, I need a loan. I got a GovCon contract. I got to get, and like I need XYZ. Oh, wait a minute, I can't get it done because they don't have their personal credit squared away yet. And if I can just help more founders be ready for those opportunities and obstacles, I feel like it's a good day. I feel like it's a great day. And but it's oftentimes hard to get the founder to think about, if I take care of this now, it has an exponential impact on my company, either good or bad. But if they take care of it now, then they're ready, is what I say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I think one of the things that's tough about starting a business, like for me at least, is I do so much legal work and it's hard to think strategically. All my strategic thinking was mostly done when I started the business, right? Like
Well,
strategy, aerospace and defense, start a law firm, call it, name it after the fighter jet that you flew, and then people will show up. And, that was the strategic thinking. But for a lot of startup founders, we're just so bogged down in the day to day of running the business, doing the legal work, that it's hard to organize all that information unless one, you start from a place of organization, which I've tried to do as much as possible, uh, or two, you start hiring enough folks in order to be able to allocate, brainwaves towards that kind of work.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Michael, our time grows short, but what's an insight or a question I should have asked you about already? You're like, why hasn't Rod asked me about this? Something that you should share with your community. What is that?
All right, you should have asked me, why is BizVets LA working?
Why is it working? You're right. I should have asked you that. That is absolutely right.
I think veterans inherently want to do business with each other to a large extent. If I'm going to make somebody rich, I prefer it be another veteran. If I'm going to spend money on someone, I prefer it be another veteran. One, there's that initial layer of trust that's already met, shared common background to a large extent.
Yep.
That person's probably had a security clearance, that they have signed up for something bigger than themselves. So I think we naturally tend to want to gravitate towards each other, which is why I see you at the conferences, and which is why we have these conferences in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think when you get out, leverage that network of people to the maximum extent possible. Hopefully, wherever you are locally, there's already an established network. If not, there is a model to start that up. But I think that can be a good jumping point for entering into the commercial sector. And, look, I mean, we get a lot of MBA students, we get a lot of JD students in the group because they want to be ready and have people that they know and like before they jump out into the cold, dark world out there.
Did you say they want to be ready? Is that right? Like a ready founder?
I did.
That's funny.
That's-
So yeah, so other than BizVets LA, what are some other resources you would share that people should look at or use or read or view or
Okay.
consume one way or another?
Well, I'm a ambassador for the IVMF, as you well know. So I would say they have a lot of great programs. Everything from the CEO Circle to Veteran Edge Conference. I think most people hopefully know about them as veterans, but if not, I encourage you to check them out. And if you do already know about them and you're starting a business, it's worth looking at specifically what programs that you have. Also, an ambassador for the Veterans and Business Network. They have primarily a large conference in November, but they also have other programs like at UCLA, and they travel across the country. I think they can offer you a lot of contracts with larger suppliers, whether those are state entities, county entities, or even corporations. That can be a great way to connect. I've also worked with Navoba. I mean, brought the list of veterans organizations nationally, NSVUC, like it's just, there's so many of them. I think I've probably hit some of the bigger ones, but
Yes, you have. Yeah, absolutely.
we could talk about this for a good another 30 minutes.
Yep, you're right. You're right. So, hey, Michael, I want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. In honor of your time, we're going to donate $100 to the MILCOM Founders Scholarship Fund that helps the kids of military families attend university. So really, really do appreciate it very much.
Thanks for joining us on the MILCOM Founders Podcast. If you know a MILCOM founder with a story to share, reach out to us at milcomfounders.com. For each guest on our show, One Degree Financial donates $100 to the Dick Wojcicki Veteran Entrepreneur Scholarship Fund, supporting education for children of a MILCOM business owner. Stay ready.